And welcome to the Gabe Swartz Show here on a Monday. It's KC Sports Night at KCTV5. I'm Jared Koller, where we have a lot of Chiefs to talk about. Gabe, it's a Victory Monday for the 13th time, or sometimes that's a Victory Friday or Victory Tuesday, but it's another Chiefs win, which, one, should be celebrated because this was a game that Chiefs could have lost if the Browns played better. I don't think it was ever really in doubt because the Browns did not play well. So we'll break that down, what it means for the playoff picture, today's news. But we have to start with the injury to one Patrick Mahomes. Gabe, your reaction on the significance. First of all, before we dive in, let's get the obvious stuff, okay? Because when Gabe and I are on the program, high-level talk, okay? Not good that Mahomes got hurt. We hope he gets better faster. Don't know why he was in at that point in game and why he was throwing the ball in that spot. Dumb. Okay.
I think it makes plenty of sense that he was in the game. I think
yes.
What upsets me is the willingness and I would say arrogance of coaching the mid to late third quarter and early fourth quarter with pass after pass after pass against one of the better pass rushes in the NFL and one of the better pass rushers in league history with Myles Garrett. When I know that the running back and the rushing offense wasn't the most incredible thing you'd seen all day, but just moving the clock would have been helpful.
It wasn't good at all.
If you run the ball on 3rd and 3, you might not have to go for it on 4th and 3 and might not be in a spot where you're forced to throw. And
you don't have to go for it at all.
Essentially what I'm saying, and yes, that's the other thing is I don't dislike going for it on 4th and 3. I don't dislike working on your 4th down offense. If you're going to use regular season games to work on things that you're going to need to be good at in the playoffs, 4th down offense and gotta have it moments and treating those moments as gotta have it, even though, yes, I know that situationally up 14 with 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter is not a gotta have it spot. The problem I have with it is the inconsistency of the decision making. In the first half, that's a spot where the Chiefs are sending out their special teams unit and they're kicking a 29-yard field goal with Harrison Butker. And then in the fourth quarter, in a spot where there's really not a whole ton to be gained by converting the first down, when your defense has already forced 5 turnovers at that point,
right?
You go out there and you subject Mahomes to another hit when he was getting pressured on more than half of the passing attempts, and he got hit on a third of them.
Yeah.
So you were essentially saying, okay, there's a 50% chance that he's going to have a defender near him, and there's a 1 in 3 chance that he's going to get hit by them. And then you're shocked when he gets hurt. Like, I just think that the arrogance and the inconsistency of the decision-making is absurd, and I think that the second half of offensive game plan and offensive coaching is probably the worst it has been since the 2021 AFC Championship game against the Bengals in the second half, where it all just fell apart. And it was just completely losing half of the ball, of just not running the ball at all. There's a lot of a lot there. A lot to digest.
There's like 5 different things. I'm like, okay, I'll respond to that. So, I don't feel as strongly about most of that. I think there's truth in everything he just said. But I think you can evaluate that one decision without letting it speak for, this is a microcosm of the whole thing and this is an example of all the I think in the play that Mahomes got hurt, you're up 21-7, your defense has already forced 5 turnovers and stopped them on every drive. You don't need any more, you could just punt it there if you don't want to kick it because it's windy. So that's what I disagree with. I was fine with the amount that they ran the ball for the most part because I don't think the run game was doing anything. And I think I also don't think you need to work on your 4th down plays in week 15 of the regular season when you have this experienced of a team that has played in as many big games as they have. You can do that in practice. You don't need to go out and risk an injury. And on that note, as far as working on things, I don't think you need to work on your fourth down plays. I do think you need to work on your passing offense in game reps in an offense that needs to be better to win in the playoffs. Specifically, Mahomes being on the same page with Xavier Worthy, DeAndre Hopkins, Travis Kelce, Noah Gray, which he was not for the majority of the game. Like, before the injury, Patrick Mahomes, that was one of his worst games. Like, he was not good. Mm-hmm. And at a certain point, you realized, okay, they're going to win this game. We didn't know if it'd be by 30 or by – but we're like, okay, they're going to win this game. And if they viewed it as, let's keep firing away, let's see if we can get in sync in the passing game, I like that better than – oh, here's Isaiah Pacheco because Gabe, outside of Isaiah Pacheco's 34-yard run against the Raiders, which is what he's in there for big plays, I get it. But outside of that one run, he's averaging 2.9 yards per carry since coming back from injury. Kareem Hunt, also similar, I don't know his exact for the year, but like I don't think the answer is you have to, maybe a little bit more than they did yesterday, but I'm not that mad about that.
Yeah, but I don't understand why Isaiah Pacheco coming back makes Andy Reid forget that 3 and 4 yard runs is what you've been totally okay with all
Especially
season
since
long.
They did with Hunt. They ran it a lot with Hunt.
Exactly. It doesn't make any sense that for half of this season the Chiefs have been totally okay with running the ball 20 to 25 times a game for 3 to 4 yards a carry, and then suddenly Pacheco comes back and they just scoff their nose at like a 2 yard gain, like it's the worst thing that's ever happened. You were totally good with that for 7 to 8 weeks when that was the only option. So that's again to my greater point. I just don't understand the inconsistency of the decision making.
Yeah, and the third quarter.
That's where I just think that the at a certain point you have to take acceptance of this has just not been the way that the day has gone. We've not fixed our passing problems today, and it's not going to get solved today, but needlessly putting the $500 million quarterback on a tee for Myles Garrett and other guys to hit is just pointless.
They held Myles Garrett in check for most of the game, and I agree with you, pointless on that fourth down, but later in the game I'm fine with them throwing. And I agree that the offense has been out of whack to a degree that is similar to that AFC Championship game, but I don't put that 100% on coaching because, Gabe, how many times yesterday did we see Patrick Mahomes either miss a guy, which the scheme can get somebody open, but you don't throw it to him, or remember the Justin Watson deep ball where Watson was not open, had 2 guys on him. Yeah. Mahomes checked deep. Xavier Worthy was wide open. There's a couple plays where Mahomes opted to go deep, and if he's trying to get in sync with his guys, okay, but I don't put that on coaching. I put that on Mahomes not playing that well.
I think that saying any problem is on one person or any is almost always a little bit it's so much of a chicken and the egg argument, and that I would argue that part of the inefficiency of the passing game and part of the never being in rhythm and never looking on the same page is a matter of the way that the offense is structured. So I don't think that Patrick Mahomes has had – it's clearly like this is going to be his worst statistical season from a pure total offense perspective of his career. It's the most sub 200 passing yard games he's had of his career. And
yesterday was the worst completion percentage
exactly
of his career.
And so while I don't think that he's played well, I also don't think that the offense is in any rhythm and putting him in a spot where it's not in any
out of
rhythm,
whack. But it's not as ineffective as maybe we feel like. Like, they have spurts in pretty much every game. Like, they haven't had one game where they were completely decrepit.
Yeah.
Like, even the Raiders, what's their low scoring game? The Raiders? I mean, the Chargers.
The lowest scoring game would be the Chargers 17, right?
Yeah, and that one they had the deep ball and they moved it okay. They just turned it I think they're showing flashes, just there's no consistency. But, no, Gabe, that's a great point, and that's something that I would encourage Chiefs fans to also keep in mind, because I think a lot of people, they want to blame Matt Nagy, okay? They want to blame Travis Kelce because his head isn't in the game. They want to blame Mahomes for doing all the commercials. They want to blame Andy Reid for being like, it's everyone's in the same pie. I want to blame the left tackle, the right tackle. Like, it's all it's never as black and white. It's never if you remove one person, everything's fixed. That's always everybody's take in sports. So
I just wonder, there's still things like DeAndre Hopkins playing 45% of the snaps yesterday. Like, when you've got 35-year-old
Brown not back.
Well, and I know that Hopkins, there's a playing time incentive in that deal of whether it is a 5th-round pick or a 4th-round pick. Yeah, I don't know if that's the reason for why he's not playing more than 50% of snaps, but Justin Watson out-snapping DeAndre Hopkins makes no sense.
They've all, with the exception of Tyreek Hill, they've always rotated guys in and out more than maybe conventional wisdom says. And he joined midseason and he's older. I will be livid if that is the case. That's in the postseason.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why I think that there's certain pieces of evidence where you're like, that has to change.
But it's not the postseason, right? And so I can't. I think it's logical to say they want to keep him healthy. They want to keep him, fresh, so that they can do that in the postseason.
Yeah.
No, we don't know. I mean, that's the $1 million question. All right, Gabe, we've had a decent amount of negative talk, which I think rightfully so. I'd say yesterday Chiefs fans were more negative than positive, just because it was a weird game and that they scored 3 touchdowns and then got shut out on 11 out of 14 drives. And 2 of those drives were shorter fields. So it was a weird day offensively, but I do give them credit for finding the end zone. Something at times they've struggled in the red zone, but Juju Smith-Schuster, Noah Gray, and Xavier Worthy finding it. Noah Gray, 5 touchdowns in the last 5 weeks is crazy. But, Gabe, the defense, I know it was Winston. I know it was the Browns. That was a great performance.
Yeah, absolutely. He was under pressure for we talked about as much pressure as Patrick Mahomes was
I don't think he was that bad.
Jameis Winston
for a lot of the game.
Several times, Jameis Winston dipped out of a sack from somebody and got immediately hit by another guy. He almost didn't have any chance on several plays. And there was one point where there was a what should have been a sack or a loss of yardage for Winston, and it got wiped away from an illegal contact. And at that point, I was out and I was listening to the radio broadcast, and Daniel Hughes made the point. He was like, if you're an official, if the play is cooked that quickly at the line of scrimmage, what are we doing with the little illegal contact here when there was no chance the ball was getting to that guy? And on the rewatch, I would agree with that take. So, I think that it was really impressive. Charles Omenihu, you can see that impressive.
Good
what he was getting back there.
Did you watch that play? I saw a video of the All-22 today. Chris Jones
taking up 3 guys,
but plus a chip, like tight end like chips him, and then 3 guys. And then Omenihu beats his guy, and that was a strip sack. That could have been a 7th turnover game.
Yeah, it was very impressive. That there's Trent McDuffie getting his first interception. You had Jaden Hicks. I mean, he came within 10 or 12 yards of returning it for a pick 6 at the end.
That wasn't Jameis Winston throwing it, though.
Exactly. So that was Dorian Thompson-Robinson.
The Lord did not go there, okay?
Yeah. And there was multiple interceptions where Jameis decided the best way to avoid throwing in a pick 6 is to throw the interception, but make sure it's in your own end zone.
Brian Cook with a nice catch.
So it's just a touchback.
And when you say first interception, Trent McDuffie's first career since November 2020 at Washington. That's where I thought the pass rush was good. Omenihu, Karloftis had a couple coverage sacks. Chris Jones was really good, even though he didn't get any sacks. PSA, remember, Chris Jones' value is not determined by sacks, as saw with that Charles Omenihu sack. Jones taking 4 blockers. Thank you. Just need to mention that every week. However, Gabe, what I was most positively intrigued by was I thought the secondary played really well. And the Browns don't have a great wide receiver corps, so I'm not ready to start popping champagne bottles. But I thought Trent McDuffie played, and McDuffie has struggled at times this year. I thought he played really well. The safeties played well, with the exception of the lone touchdown where Justin Reed got cooked inside and Chris Roland Wallace looked really slow. With the exception of that, I thought everyone played really well. And it allowed some of the pressure was because the scheme and the defensive backs played well. And why that is encouraging is because as we continue to bemoan this offense, if the defense can start looking a little closer to last year, well, hey, that offense doesn't need to be as great as you and I would like it to.
Yeah, I think it could be dependent on who they end up getting in the playoffs and such. But, I mean, yes, the Chiefs' defensive backs, I think the most impressive thing is that Jerry Jeudy was held relatively in check given how Jeudy has played since Jameis Winston took over until Sunday. Sunday would have been one of his worst games, I guess. Yeah. I know that he racked up 10 for 100, but a lot of that was, I think, like 40 or 50 yards of it was at the end of the game for pretty much no impact on the outcome. So, I think that's very impressive, and I think if we end up seeing a game on Saturday, I'm trying to think of what day the Chiefs are playing on this week. If we end up seeing a game on Saturday where Patrick Mahomes does not play, I almost think you end up with the similar situation to 2019 where Mahomes is out with the dislocated kneecap, and whether it's, I would hope that you get a locked-in offensive game plan to set up Carson Wentz, and I would think that that's the kind of stuff where it inspires the defense to know that they've got to pick up their focus and kind of carry the load, because you can't rely upon the offense having the superhero over there in 15. Sure. So I don't know if he'll play or not, but I think that sometimes it can be like a heightened focus from everyone else if they don't just have that card to play.
It could be. I think for certain teams maybe. I don't know if I'd go that far with this team, especially at the end of the year where they know that they're 2 wins away from clinching a berth, and they want that rest. I mean, this team has played more games than anyone the last couple of years. They got guys that are tired. You know, they've got guys coming back from injury. They just had – listen, that's the other thing. If the Lions would have beaten the Bills yesterday, which they almost did, I wish they would have, we would have gotten into a scenario where the Chiefs wouldn't have to play for like a month. Why is that beneficial? You could avoid what happened yesterday, like a Patrick Mahomes injury. Or Travis Kelce almost got hurt the very first play of the game with a dumb old chain gang not dropping the – I was furious. And then I saw him back like 2 plays later, and I calmed down. But that's why you want to win these games and have that rest. So with that in mind, Gabe, I ask, how do you feel about this game Saturday from a Mahomes versus Carson Wentz standpoint, in that I don't think it's as simple as, okay, if Mahomes is 100% or 90% he goes, like, because you have the Saturday short turnaround, you have a little bit of cushion to where the Chiefs could lose and still get the number 1 seed, and then you have a game the following Wednesday at Pittsburgh. Like, how would you try to manage this? Do you have a certain idea?
I think the nightmare situation is you play Patrick, you lose the game, and he doesn't feel good and doesn't end up playing on the road on Wednesday on Christmas Day, and you put in jeopardy 2 games in 1. With that being said, if the goal is, okay, he could play at 75-80%, because if we're being honest, nobody's 100% in December in the NFL. Yeah. You're certainly not at 100% when you had your week 6 bye and you're about to have 3 games in 11 days and you just got banged up in Cleveland on the weekend. So forcing him to play, even if he absolutely could, and I think we all know that we don't understand the levels of pain tolerance that Patrick Mahomes has, but we have a significant amount of evidence that would point us in the direction that he has an incredible pain tolerance. So
I mean, it's a yearly ankle injury at this point.
And if it was the playoffs, I absolutely believe, yes, he would have probably gone back in against Cleveland. Yeah. He would have been able to play, or he would be able to play on Saturday against Houston. I don't know if it's necessary to do so. And I think that you went out and you paid a premium to get a really solid backup quarterback in Carson Wentz with the pedigree that he's got for this kind of situation where you're at home, you're going to be in a comfortable environment, you're not going to have to worry about the cadence being something that can be worried about on the road.
And that's why it's a tougher decision. Like, if this were Blaine Gabbert and on the road, I think it's a lot easier decision. But I think you can make an argument that the overall long-term success of the team is better if Carson Wentz plays on Saturday. I mean, we don't know that for sure, but I think you can make that argument, and that's where it's kind of they got to see how he responds. There's a decent chance he's good to go on Tuesday. Like he's fine. He's crazy, but because of Wentz's pedigree and success, I just wish it was against a little bit worse of a team. Like if it was the Browns coming to town, I'd say start Wentz 100%.
Oh, absolutely.
The Texans have looked not great at times, but they've also looked great at times, and so it's like I don't know if Carson Wentz in this offense can beat the Texans.
I think that they can.
They can, but like it's not. Oh,
yes,
yeah, no problem.
Yeah. But also, you have to take into account the Bills are probably not losing one of their last three to the Jets and the Pats twice.
Yeah.
And so, with that being said, getting the 1 seed is you're earning Mahomes a week of rest by getting the 1 seed. That is why when people say the 1 seed doesn't mean anything, it's like, well, the rest either comes in the regular season or it comes via earning the 1. In an ideal world, the rest comes via you don't play him on Saturday, he rests, they win, and you earn the 1 seed, and then he gets another week off.
You would need Buffalo to win.
I know. What I'm saying is if Patrick plays
Wednesday?
either Christmas Day or the last week of the season and they win one of those two.
Gotcha.
I think the question is how comfortable are the Chiefs with letting Wentz go and then knowing, you know what, if we lose on Saturday, we need Mahomes to play Christmas Day and in Denver and win 2 straight road games to clinch the 1.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I'd be also more for it and saying, hey, if we lose, it's okay. If they weren't going on the road to Pittsburgh, a team that's not bad, and going on the road to the team against Denver, who's not bad and has played really well against the Chiefs through the years.
It's a team that's trying to win the AFC North, and then it's a team that's trying to clinch AFC wildcard spot.
Who should have beat you earlier this year. So it's really like I don't know the right answer, and so if you're like, hey, Jared and Gabe, they absolutely need to do this. I don't think you're wrong, and obviously we'll have more information throughout the week to see what those answers are. But it's interesting. It's a really interesting situation. That we'll see how it unfolds.
I would say glass half full take. The fact that Patrick has had all these ankle injuries, I would think that they've got a book on what works and what doesn't and what helps him in terms of – I know that every injury is different, but in terms of a pain management, I am sure that the Chiefs coaching staff and training staff knows what he typically responds to best. And
it's later in the season, so Carson Wentz has full knowledge of the playbook. They've seen him practice. If Carson Wentz has looked like 2017 Carson Wentz, they know that, and so that may help. Whereas if he looked more like 2022 Carson Wentz, then that also affects their decision. I don't think he's looking like 2017. Right. Carson Wentz. The degree in which I don't know, is in an Andy Reid offense. I mean, Nick Foles came in and looked really well. That's the thing. I'm not ruling out that Carson Wentz could be great. I mean, that's the thing is if you told me on Saturday Carson Wentz plays and the Chiefs score 31 for the first time all year, I would be surprised. I wouldn't be shocked. Right. I would agree. Especially because Hollywood Brown might come back. However, a player who won't be there on Saturday, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Gabe, this I feel like the writing's been on the wall since Isaiah Pacheco came back because Clyde didn't get playing time after he got hurt. And now that Pacheco has shown that he's healthy, Kareem Hunt still healthy, Samaje Perine been good, and Carson Steele. I think it's between Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Carson Steele. Steele isn't really playing anymore, but he does bring something on special teams. He's younger, can be a fullback, whereas Clyde, 0 games in 2024. But the book on him closes as a Chief with 20 total touchdowns. I don't know if people realize he scored 20 times over his career. In 48 games. Yeah, in 2,600 yards, a odd Chiefs career because I think he was underrated to a degree. overrated to a degree. Like, I think the opinions on Clyde through the years went all over the place. But he was really great against the Bills throughout his entire career, so I appreciate him for that.
Yeah. I mean, his first career game was
electric.
Everything that people thought he was going to be.
Houston in the rain opening night. 138
yards. And I think people were really, really excited about what he was going to potentially be.
Yep.
I think when you look back on the highlights of 2020 and you look back at how nimble and athletic, I know that it wasn't everything that it was dreamed up to be. And part of that is because he got injured in New Orleans in November that year.
Exactly.
And hurt his MCL.
Yeah, I think there is a distinct demarcation before and after that.
Like, there's so much athleticism lost there. He got a little bigger, I think, and lost some of his quick twitch and explosiveness. I also think we know enough, or we've been told by him how much his PTSD impacted him. And so while I think that the draft pick overall, from a football perspective, can be viewed as a disappointment, and I think that you can argue it was bad process from a team-building perspective of just, we just won the Super Bowl, let's use a first-round pick on a luxury to go to a running back. I think you can have some concern about that. The next guy picked in the draft being T. Higgins certainly doesn't help Chiefs fans be any happier about that. But I think with understanding the situation, I can at least know, like, okay, that's probably why it didn't pan out to as well as it could have.
Right.
But it's a little bit of a bittersweet, just because honestly the writing was on the wall from Isaiah Pacheco stealing his job in 2022. From that point on, it was just
I was surprised he was signed as a free agent.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
but he was active for the Super Bowl last year, but he didn't. He played, like, I think he got one carry. So,
and 9.
So I mean, he ended up playing in 2 Super Bowls. He was a healthy scratch in the Eagles one, but they won that one. I think that
the Bucs one, did he play?
He did. He played.
Because he was hurt, remember?
Yep, but he returned and
got back in time that game?
Yeah.
Well, what I just did the math on, he had 7 games against the Buffalo Bills, 400 yards against the Bills in that time, and 1 touchdown. And as we've noted on this program, on this station, I don't like the Bills, Gabe. Not a fan.
And so Buffalo doesn't like you either.
Yeah, that's been made very clear if you look at my Twitter DMs and mentions. Not a fan of my family either, which is odd. I didn't know that many people in Buffalo, including my mom. But, 400 yards against the Bills, kind of odd deal. But what I will remember is how Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, separate times, have called him one of their favorite teammates to ever play with.
And he seemed to get along with, I mean,
Jared
you saw so many training camp moments, training camp photos, him coming down the hill, even this year, of just him and Kadarius Toney.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Being buddies on the way down the hill one day.
Him and Isaiah Pacheco dancing a lot. So seems like a really great. Get back to the community. He was at Randy Mahomes pickleball fundraiser for Variety KC. He's done all kinds of stuff with veterans. He went to Leavenworth for a charity thing. Like, he's been great in the community. And man, I wish him the best. So I don't know what his football career. He's only 25, Gabe.
Yeah.
He's young, but yeah, he just hasn't looked as effective. But even at times last year, Gabe,